Welcome to the Somerville Safety and Security Meeting, informational session. My name is Tim Tian. I'm the superintendent, and this is Melissa McEntee. She's our director of 21st Century, but also, as you can see up there, our school security specialist, which is something that the state mandated this year, so she has been duly elected to it. So, give you an overview of the purpose of today's meeting. It is to share what the district has put in place to maximize the student and staff safety. We are going to be limited on some things that we cannot tell you, and I'll probably stress that several times throughout this, because if we reveal certain things, then it's no longer safe. Anyone that wants to gain access to our buildings would be able to. So we definitely have to still keep that stuff tight to the vest. It is to share evidence of collaborations with our police, fire, and OEM. We meet with them constantly, and one of them's here to support us tonight. It is to share many specifics of what is in place, once again, without compromising the plan. And it is to collect suggestions on ways to improve what we are already doing. It is not to talk about specific students or staff. So student and personnel matters. The reason why you can't talk about students and staff is because it's actually against the law. That's why if you go to a board meeting, you would see that they have executive session, and it's to discuss personnel matters and student matters. Whenever we do have a serious incident in the district, which knock on wood has not happened, and it's confirmed to be a threat, we do notify the public, and we would notify the public. However, we do not provide information about unfounded situations. If you talk to any of the principals or assistant principals or supervisors, they deal with dozens of incidents a day. Some are very simple. Somebody just doesn't want to go to school, somebody pushed somebody, to more serious ones. Maybe it could be drugs, it could be a fight in the building, whatever it might be. They don't report that stuff out except to the parents of the students that are involved. They don't report that out to everyone in the community. It's something they deal with on an everyday basis. And many times when those incidents happen, a lot of them are unfounded. So there's really no one else to notify about. So our current incidents, we know that's one of the hot topics that's on everyone's mind. So we figured we'd spend 1 second on that slide. It was investigated appropriately and completely by the Somerville High School administration. The outcomes were reported back the next day to the reporter of it. It was both cases were unfounded. There were no guns, no gang signs, and no school shooting threat. And once again, notification wasn't sent out to the public because it's unfounded. It didn't exist. But looking at all incidents within our district, once again, in an emergency, we do have procedures that are in place in every one of our buildings. And the staff know what to do in an emergency, and they put those things into place. Once again, we're not going to share what that is, because if we did, then if somebody else gained access to our buildings and they wanted to initiate one of those things, they would know what to do. When there is an incident, the very first thing that happens is the incident gets reported. It can be, if it's an emergency, once again, an imminent threat, they know the procedures for that. If it's not, it's just a normal incident that happens. Let's say it's in the cafeteria and somebody does something, throws food or something, they would write up that incident. So every incident is written up, or should be written up, and the administration gets that and they start the investigation. Once again, if it's unfounded, there's really nothing to do. But 9 times out of 10, the individual that's doing the investigation will sit down with that child and we'll have a conversation about the incident, or maybe even though it was unfounded, why was this? What were some of the things that were contributing to it? If it is founded and it was a serious one, they would definitely be calling the police. And then they do call the superintendent. They will contact the parent and guardians, and they will notify the public, and that would be myself and Melissa. If there's any kind of serious threat, we would notify you. And Melissa will talk in a little while about how we would do that. And that little while is right now.
Thank you. So there are many different ways that we utilize communication resources to get in touch with faculty, staff, students, and parents when there is an issue. So one of the things that we use, and you may be familiar with already, is School Messenger. And we have 3 different modes that we can use to contact you in the event that we need to relay any type of information. So we may use email, we may use phone calls, we may use text messages, and sometimes we'll use a combination of the 3. We try to be very aware of your phones ringing, and we don't want necessarily to put out phone messages all the time if it's not necessary, but we know you definitely need that phone message in the morning when you don't have to get the kids off to school when it snows. So those are the different types of ways that we will call you or notify you through School Messenger. On an individual basis, if there is a need to contact a parent regarding a situation that is being investigated, most likely you will be contacted by the school's principal or maybe a vice principal to discuss the incident and to let you know of any investigations that are ongoing, and that's on a personal situation by situation basis. We also utilize social media. So most of the administrators have Twitter accounts that we use to put out information, and that's usually more of a generic follow-up type of information or to share resources. And we also post a lot of information on our websites. Each school has their own individual website, and we also have a district website. So those are always places to go to find information. And when letters and things are sent out, we usually post them to our web pages. Finally, through communication, we really look a lot to our partners in other school districts. We look to lessons learned from other school districts that have gone through unfortunate events, and we try to communicate as much as we can with local law enforcement, with first responders in the town, and also with administrators and teachers from other school districts as well as our own, so that we can make sure that we have all of the information and we're always up to date on risks or potential risks, so that we can make the appropriate plans to keep everyone safe.
And before you go on to the reunification, just so you know, like one of the lessons we've learned from the Florida incident was how they communicated with their communities. And the primary method that they use, which has been different than other districts that have gone through stuff like that in the past, is that they actually relied mostly on Twitter. And I was just recently at a workshop in Trenton where they actually did a time lapse of all the tweets by the superintendent and principal, whoever was involved, and you could see the progression of the events and how they got to the reunification plan. And that's something that Melissa and I have been talking about, that we want to improve that process here and let the parents know, if there were an emergency, how would we get in touch with you? What means would we get in touch with you?
So we are going to talk more and send out information in the coming weeks about particular reunification plans based on the information that we have from our partners who know a lot about school security and safety, and how to get you reunited with your children in the event that something happens. So each school is going to have a different plan, and that information will be forthcoming.
Okay, so as I said, we are constantly learning and improving. Over the last several years, I've spent a lot of time going to different events. Back when Sandy Hook happened, I actually went to one where the superintendent of Sandy Hook spoke firsthand about the experiences that she went through. So each one of these have been, unfortunately, a learning experience, but it's something that we take information away from and we can use within our district. The emergency response to school shootings has also evolved. When school shootings first happened, the initial reaction or process for the officers was to go into the building, and when they saw wounded, they would stop and they would take care of them. The problem with that is that they found out that delayed getting to the shooter, which meant that more people got shot. So the police learned through the process as well. Also from that, they've learned now that the police go past these people that have been shot. Well, there's no one coming in behind them to take care of them, the ones that are injured on the ground. So people were dying not because necessarily of the gunshot, but because they were bleeding out. So now, and that's one of the things we're doing, or Melissa will be talking about, is beacon training. So we want to be as prepared as we can be in an incident like that. So, I use Columbine and Florida as two examples. If you look at both those cases, they are very different in the process that was used when the incidents happened.
I want to talk a little bit to you and explain our partners within our school safety planning. We have an emergency management committee that is comprised of officials from the school district, as well as the police department, fire department, and the Office of Emergency Management. We work very closely together to review the plans that we have, and we look for ways that we can continually learn from lessons and from one another and the latest risks so that we can be prepared and to create the best plan that we possibly can. So we meet regularly to discuss our plans and to try to figure out how we can analyze what we're currently doing and make improvements. Because I think that we are all of the mindset that the more we reflect and look at what we're doing, the more we look at it with a critical eye, the more we can make improvements to make sure that we all stay safe. We also have monthly drills that we're required to do by the state, but we go a step further and we actually invite those partners in from OEM, fire, and the police department, and they come in and they walk through our lockdowns, our fire drills, and they provide us with feedback that's really valuable. We sit down after those drills and we debrief together and we discuss, what did you notice? What did you see? What could we do differently? And we've really made that a priority in this past year, and we've had a number of drills each month where those partners have been there to give us that really important feedback. And then with that feedback, we go back and look at our emergency management plan that's created for the district annually, and we try to make modifications and adjustments so that we are doing the best we possibly can. In addition, one of the conversations that came up out of those meetings was that we could provide better resources to help the Somerville Police Department with resources to know what our schools are like. So we created little mini guides for them so that they have those in their patrol cars, where they have important information about how to contact us, what our procedures are, and what our steps that we take when an event occurs. So through those things, we feel like we've made a lot of improvements over this year, in addition to the security improvements that we've made. So as I mentioned, we do have those drills, but in addition to that, our DARE officers and other police officers stop by our schools and do walkthroughs just during the school day, so that the kids can see that they have a presence in our schools, and that there's that open line of communication and also that partnership. Also helps to make sure that they're familiar with our buildings, that if an event was to happen, they would be able to navigate the buildings easily and effectively. In addition to the meetings that we have with the groups that I mentioned, the Office of Emergency Management also invites local partners from throughout Somerville, including the mayor's office and business partners, and they meet 4 times a year. I go as a representative for the district, and we learn about things that are happening within the town, and we offer suggestions, and there's an open dialogue about what we're doing as a school district. And out of that comes training. So we are actually going to be trained tomorrow. There's 16 individuals that have volunteered in the district for BCON training, which is bleeding control. So we would be the volunteers that are going to get the training to find out how to triage in the event that there is significant bleeding, because what they found is that over the years, most people were being trained in CPR, and CPR isn't really a life-saving measure when it comes to school shootings, where we're having to do that bleeding control. So we are being trained tomorrow. That's just the first step. They train local law enforcement, and then they came to the schools, because they wanted us to be prepared. So we're very, very happy for that partnership.
And an important thing to know about that too is people probably are asking themselves, why isn't everyone in the district trained in it? Well, the reality is that it takes some special people to do that, because you have the first responders going in, and these are the individuals that will be going in right behind them. There's the potential that if somebody's shooting a gun, it will still be going off. So these are individuals that are stepping up and saying, I'm willing to, in a sense, put my own life in danger so that I can help save somebody else.
In addition to that, I didn't mention that we do have a security ad hoc committee that we meet with through the Board of Education, has representatives that meet with us and principals every month or so that we can review plans and let them know what we're doing. I think what's important to take away from this is the fact that we do look to so many different resources, because we realize that we do have expertise in some areas, like in the classroom and instruction, but we need to look at people who know far more about what the potential dangers are so that we can better protect our children. Some of the safety upgrades that we've also done over the past couple of years have been really important, and we'd like to point those out to you, because a lot of the things that we do when we meet with these partners and we plan is really stuff that we can't share, because to bring light to our security measures and our plans would be to share it, openly with everyone. So there are some things that we can't put out there. But what I would like to tell you is that there is a public relations officer who is a retired police officer in each of our buildings, stationed in each of our buildings. And they use a Raptor system, which is a system that scans in anyone's license when they enter the school and creates a badge for them, but it also does a background check to make sure that we do not have people in our buildings who are unsafe and who should not be there. Another thing that we did a couple years back is to reinforce the lobby at the high school so that individuals, once they get through the front doors, can't go in through the next set of doors or into the main office. So those are locked, and we do have a public relations officer, or we call them our pros, stationed there as well every day in the high school. We also implemented staff IDs that we require all staff members to wear every single day while they're in the school building. The reason why we do this is because we need students and staff members to get used to making sure that they point out a person that's in the building that does not have that identification. It's a quick and easy way for even our youngest students to identify a person that belongs there and distinguish from a person who may not belong in our buildings.
And that is an area that we're trying to grow in. We want to better educate the kids to be watching the adults that are in the building, or any strange person. We're also looking at ensuring that all students wear their IDs as well. That's a process, though. We talked to a group of students the other day, and we said, how many of you have your ID? And we had 7 sitting at the table, and not one of them did. One said, I lost it 2 years ago. So, we also have that sometimes with administrators. So that is something that we're definitely working on.
And another thing that we have implemented over the past year is increased security cameras both inside and outside of our buildings. And with that, we not only installed new cameras, but we also installed better technology so that we can increase the areas that we're able to capture, but we also can increase the retention time that we have on our servers. So that was a big project, and that is something that we feel will help keep us safer. They're strategically designed, and we do have limited access to individuals who are able to see that video. So we want you to be sure that we're not storing all of that video and it's open to everyone. There's a select few people that can actually access that if necessary. Another thing that we have learned from other school districts and our conversations with the police department and the fire department is to post the room numbers in each of our classroom windows. That is because in case there is an issue and the police or fire are outside and we are inside in any way, they will know just by looking at the windows where the classroom begins and where the classroom ends, just by looking at the windows. And through the surveillance maps that we've given them of our basically of each floor of all of our schools, they would be able to see which classroom they needed to get to if something was reported to them.
And if there was an emergency, we would have other law enforcement from outside of Somerville that would be showing up, other emergency personnel that might not and would not be familiar with our district. So those maps that we're providing to those emergency personnel, they can look at them and see the room numbers and know exactly where each one is in reference to. So it really is a guide for those that are also not as familiar as our current police department, fire department, OEM.
And as everything else that we're doing, we also evaluate all of these safety upgrades to make sure that we know that what we do each year, we're going to need to continually improve on those plans to make sure that we have the latest and greatest in safety upgrades. I want to talk to you a little bit about a standard response protocol. This was adopted by the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office, and it's supposed to be adopted by all schools in Somerset County. The reason being is because they wanted standard language for all students and all staff members and emergency responders so that there isn't confusion going into one school as compared to another school because the verbiage is different, because we use different language. So creating that standard language was a priority for Somerset County, and we actually led the county in adopting that standard response protocol. We met with the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office and law enforcement officials from other districts and basically shared our resources because we were a step ahead. I'll show you a video in a moment that explains our standard response protocol and what your children are instructed to do in case any of these alerts are listed. We also annually...
I want to kind of pipe in here because Melissa won't say is that she was actually one of the key people to lead this charge with SRP. So much so that Somerset County used her and what she's created as that resource for all the other districts. And we implemented it way before we were required to implement it. So, and that is all due to her efforts.
Thank you very much. The next thing that I want to point out about the SRP is that we annually train our staff and our students. The videos are available. We have everyone verify that they've watched it, and it's also shown by our director of curriculum instruction to all of our substitutes when they get hired in the district. And as we said before, we have these drills, but what we did that's different from other districts is we use the technology that we have through our security system, and we created announcements that that are piped into every single building. So basically, if a lockdown has to occur, and it'll make more sense to you, you'll hear what the announcements sound like in a moment, but if a lockdown is to occur, we have standard messaging, that same language and that same message that is broadcast throughout each building. So I'm going to move forward and show you our video now.
The Standard Response Protocol, otherwise known as the SRP. The SRP streamlines emergency procedures and focuses on 5 key actions: lockout, lockdown, evacuate, shelter, and hold. In the event of an emergency, an announcement will be activated. A lockout is activated when there is a need to keep everyone safe in our schools. During a lockout, all external doors should be locked and no one should be allowed in or out of the building. Students who are outside when a lockout is activated should return inside the school. Teachers should ensure that all students are safely in class, take roll, increase situational awareness, but continue business as usual. When a lockout is activated, you will hear the following message. Lockout, secure the perimeter. Lockout, secure the perimeter. A lockdown is activated when there is a threat or hazard inside the school building. When a lockdown is announced, students should remain in their classrooms, or if they are in the hallway, go inside the nearest classroom. Everyone must remain quiet and stay out of sight. Teachers must lock the classroom door turn off all lights, take roll, ensure that students are hidden and not visible from the hallway, and maintain silence. No one should open the door or leave the classroom until you are notified by your principal or emergency responders that the lockdown is finished. Evacuate is activated when there is a need for everyone to leave the school building, such as in the event of a fire. When evacuate is announced, you will hear the following announcement. Evacuate. Follow your fire drill procedure. Evacuate. Follow your fire drill procedure. Students should leave their belongings behind and follow classroom fire drill procedures. Teachers must take the exit pack located under the fire escape route poster in your classroom. The exit pack is designed to increase efficiency and assist staff members charged with taking roll for the school. The exit pack contains 3 cards to help easily and visually identify that teachers have accounted for all students, are missing students, or require medical attention. Once outside the building, teachers must take roll. If all students are present, teachers should hold the green OK sign to notify staff taking roll for the school. If students are missing from your class, or if you have extra students with you, teachers should hold the red help sign. If you or your students need medical assistance, please hold the medical help card. A shelter is activated when there is a weather-related emergency or hazard that would require seeking shelter in a safe location. When a shelter is called, your principal will announce specific instructions over the loudspeaker. In the event a shelter is activated, students and teachers should follow announced directions carefully. A hold is activated when there is a need for students and teachers to remain in the classroom and keep the hallways clear. This may be called if there is an altercation in the hallway or a medical emergency in the classroom. When a hold is announced, you will hear the following message. Hold in your classroom. Hold in your classroom. During a hold, students must remain in the classroom, even during class change, until the all clear is announced. Teachers should take roll, increase situational awareness, but continue business as usual. Please remember the SRP's 5 actions: lock out, lock down, evacuate, shelter, and hold. In the event that an emergency needs to be reported, please remember to stay calm, listen for directions, and follow the SRP to make sure that we all remain safe.
The version of that for our staff is slightly different. There's more information for them, especially, some of the stuff we can't share with you, just so you know. And that was the one that Melissa has actually shared out to other districts.
So when you came in, you should have received a paper that demonstrates the entire SRP and just explains what briefly you saw in the video. And it's a card that you can use with your children to try to reiterate the actions that we would use as a planning method for you and your families as well. We ask you that to do that because it really does take a village to try to make sure that we all remain safe. We talked about our partnerships. We talked about how important they are to us to look for people that really have a great feedback. But it's important that our students know to be proactive too. If they see a door propped open, if they see someone that isn't wearing an ID card, to point that out to a teacher or to an adult. We have to make sure that they are aware of those things too, and that they don't feel silly standing up and saying, you can't prop that door open, or I know you want to get in the door behind me, but I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. So those are things that we really need to make sure that they do. And if they report anything suspicious too. One of the things that we learned about the Florida shooting was that this child was all over social media posting things that were real warning signs. And we may not always see it as the adults because you may not have connections through those accounts, but check your students' social media accounts and know who their friends are and talk to them about the types of things that they see. And if they see something that it seems strange or seems a little bit scary, that they need to report it to you. It's really, really important that we do that. We're, as a district, we are very proactive in providing resources, parent resources, and community outreach. We have a number of guidance counselors, social workers, and we really do have excellent and caring staff that are looking for to make the educational environment the best it possibly can for your students, for your children, but also to know your students, know what signs there are if a student is troubled, so that can be looked into. So again, please make sure that you look over the SRP, talk to your children about it, see if they have questions about it, and also definitely monitor their social media accounts. So we want to hear from you. We talked about the fact that we are constantly updating our emergency management plans. So we have a link here to a Google form that we're asking you to share out with the other individuals that you know, so that even if they were not able to attend tonight, they will be able to provide their feedback. This online form is going to be looked at and reviewed by our administrative team. It will be looked at with our security team, with our emergency management planning team, and we're going to look at that for your feedback to see where you think those areas are within each school and also district-wide that need to be addressed or that you're concerned about. So we ask that that you go to that link. It's http://bit.ly/Ville-safety. And if you just have a comment or a concern or feedback for one school, you can just fill it out for that school, because each one is broken down by school, and the last one is for district-wide. And we thank you for providing that feedback and those suggestions.
And the one thing to really keep in mind with this is we are open to a lot of suggestions. There's going to be things as a parent or when you talk to your child that you may see or they may see that could be breaches within our security or ways that we could improve it. We encourage you to share that, and this is one means for you to do that on a continual basis. So it's not just for tonight, it's not just for this week. We're going to leave it up there so that you can, at any time when you see something, you could put it in there. If you think, though, that something is of a very serious nature that needs to be addressed right away, please do not just put it in there. Please contact the building principal of whatever building it might be so that we can address it immediately. As Melissa said, it's going to be comments as well as suggestions. So anything that you wanted to ask tonight or anything you wanted to give us as far as feedback, put it through that so that we as a team can look through all of that and be able to use it in a very useful way. It will be on the website, so I know a lot of people are trying to take a picture of it, but realize it will be on the website tonight. The link will, not the video, but so you'll be able to access it at any time.
And we will post the video as soon as we're able to, and that will also be posted in the same area on our district website.
And so we want to thank you for coming out tonight, and we do want to redirect you to two different areas. Tonight, we have Hoops for Hearts in the middle school gymnasium, and also at 7 o'clock p.m., we have the Somerville High School girls basketball team battling for state quarterfinals. So, and they had a blowout game Monday night. So we encourage you to go to that. That's at 7 p.m. And this one starts at 6 now. So you can run down there now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.